Lisa is Jar Jar Binks.
That's pretty good.
There's a hint of Elmo in there as well.
Yeah, there is.
Which means I can diverge when I need to.
No, it means you're gonna like ruin Star Wars and also teach us the alphabet. What's up, guys? Welcome to Bingewatch. I'm Lucy, joined as ever by Dave.
Hello.
And Tamoor.
Hello.
The bookmarks of introducing themselves there. Guys, we're here to talk about Mr. Robot Season 2. The first 3 episodes are out. We've watched them. Now, we are big fans of season 1, right?
Yeah, season 1, big fans of.
Very, very big fan of season 1.
We love that show when it was airing the first time. We talked about it all the time. It was a real water cooler type thing for us. Now that season 2 started, we aren't as impressed, I think it's fair to say, which is quite annoying. Well, not annoying, but it's kind of disappointing because we were such big fans of season 1. So we're kind of coming at this from a fan perspective, and this is basically where we think season 2 is making a few missteps in its first few episodes. So beware for spoilers. We're going to probably spoil all of season 1 and the first 3 episodes of season 2, so you have been warned. We've each picked one thing that we think is a major sticking point in the series so far. So Dave, you're going to kick things off. You're not happy with the show's perception of reality.
Yeah. In the first season, the breaks in reality, it was like a big twist. We didn't know that Elliot was actually like imagining a whole bunch of stuff until right at the end, and it was kind of like, it was a big shock. But we're 3 episodes into season 2, and there's already been so much of that it's just completely lost its intensity. All the drama, intrigue, imagination of Elliot's reality is just gone. It feels like it's being overused. It's almost like it's a movie that ends and then it was all a dream. It's just like, oh really? That was like a cool 2 hours and now you've just taken it away from me. In episode 3, Elliot takes a whole bunch of Adderall to get Mr. Robot out of his head to allow him to focus, and as soon as he does that, he's abducted by what he assumes are the FBI. They take him to a warehouse. They force feed him cement, which is like a really gross, intense scene. If that was like in a gangster movie, that'd be like a really amazing scene. Like I wanted to be sat there. I wanted to be thinking, how is Elliot going to get out of this? What's going on? Who are these guys? And then just as it was getting really intense, it was like, it's not really happening.
It's not real.
Sorry about that. He's just actually just throwing up on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could have been so cool. That could have been something. But instead, it was, an overly dramatic dream sequence, basically.
Yeah, it's also kind of, it would have been cool because at the minute, Elliot also has no real repercussions. So I thought that would have really moved the story along if, like, the FBI had been getting involved there. But I mean, I'm interested to know what you guys think. Do you think that, like, the breaks in reality are kind of getting overused at this point?
I think they are getting overused. And in that one specifically, we've reached a point where we can tell it's a break in reality, which gives it no sort of any sort of impact.
Yeah.
So like the moment something really extreme starts happening, I think we all go, it's not real.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of whether they can make it interesting. In that case, it was kind of interesting. They cut to the vomit, which is a cool way of moving, vomit representing the actual cement, which was nice, but it had no tension to it because we knew straight away. That's Mr. Robot screwing with him again.
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be another big, like, shocking reveal. Not like the Mr. Robot twist, I think, but there's a big theory online that Elliot's not actually staying at his mum's house. He's actually in prison. And if you think about the way he's got such a fixed routine and the way that he gets visitors, the way he gets his phone call, the way he looks at basketball, goes to rehab, all very similar ways to the kind of program that you have if you're in prison or in a mental institution. So I'm kind of thinking that that's maybe where that's going, and that they're really trying to hammer home that nothing is real, everything's an illusion, there is no control. But at the point, I'm at the point now where I'm just getting fed up of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line to walk, what's real and what's not. And 3 episodes in, I think, or at least I think they're doing it wrong.
Tam, I know you're not happy with the show's pacing in season 2.
Yeah, the pacing and the energy. The first 3 episodes of season 1 were super intense. I was watching our recap, which you can find on youtube.com/GameSpot. And they were very focused on introducing relevant and important plot points and characters. There was almost like this cause and effect type dynamic between that. Like you knew when something new was introduced, you're like, how does this fit into episode, the grander story? Sorry. So just a couple of things quickly run through for the first 3 episodes of season 1. He joined a hacker group, learned of the plan to bring down E Corp, met Tyrell, American Psycho dude. Tyrell beat up a hobo. We realized that he's addicted to morphine. There's Cisco and Allsafe and Gideon investigating. A lot of things that kind of move the plot forward. So far in season 2, all we've had is basically kind of wallowing around in Elliot's psyche.
Yeah.
F Society trying to get their act together. It's not really pushing the plot forward, which is not what you want after the last thing we saw them do was pretty much bring the world to a standstill.
Yeah.
So my problem with it is that, like, the lack of intensity, the energy, the momentum is completely gone. And, like, have you guys encountered anything in season 2 that kind of matches up to anything we've had in the first 3 episodes of season 1?
I don't think anything matches it so far. There's a few interesting characters, like Ray, for example, and like we saw him in episode 3. He's on dialysis and he copes with his wife's death by just imagining talking to her. And we see him meet another like network engineer who's been beaten up. There's a bit going on with him, and he's really the only person that I feel like attached to. There's a bunch of other characters that were introduced. I'm just like, why are they here? You've not told me why I should care about this character yet.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I think there's a couple of moments, you know, when Gideon gets shot in that bar. And also I thought when Angela, now that she's at E Corp and when she's on the phone, even though like the Bloomberg interview seems like a really inconsequential thing, the tension about her fitting into that job and the way that she was, you know, slamming down the phone and taking calls and you were seeing what would happen there, that I felt like had the same kind of energy, but the plot point doesn't seem as big, so it doesn't seem as important.
Yeah, I think Angela's maybe like one point of interest in the story because it's not quite clear whether she's fully been indoctrinated into the corporate society or if she's playing like a bit of a con. So that could be, but at the same time, the character's kind of boring, I find. Ray, I find quite interesting. He could be what brings Elliot back to his, you know, digital state now that he's living in analog. But so season 1, episodes 1 to 3 were written by the show creator Sam Esmail, and he's writing the entirety of season 2.
And directing.
From
the look of it.
Which is slightly worrying. I feel like we might be in a Lost situation where it was designed to be...
I'll have nothing said.
Listen, Lost was fine first season, but then, you know, they realized this is big. We need to make this stretch.
We need to stretch this, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's that as well. And also, he had an interview, Sam Ismail, with EW, and it said he said the same thing. He's thinking about season 2 and 3, and he wants less of a break between those. So that's kind of worrying me about stretching it too thin.
Also, what's worrying me is that the script, especially in the second season, is getting very self-indulgent. There's some real clangers of lines as well, where like when Tyrell's on the phone to him and he's like,
I need to know what's going on.
It's not safe. I wish it were. Oh, how I wish.
and it seems like there's no one there really saying, peel it back a bit, mate. It's all right. You don't have to do so much
exec
of the...
as well, talking about his con.
Yeah.
You can't have a con without confidence.
And this episode, the moment where Elliot just starts ragging on all religions, I was like, calm down, mate. You're going to cut yourself on that edge.
No,
Bring it back a bit.
You know what? So I feel like it's great to have a vision, and sure, like Sam Esmail, he's the vision behind it. It's his baby, but I'm wondering if he gets too much into auteur territory, and no one's going to tell him that maybe this isn't the best thing for the show.
Yeah, I agree.
My gripe is quite similar to yours, Tam, but I think that the show is pretty much losing focus. So you think about season 1, right? The plot of season 1, hacker group takes down multi-billion-dollar evil corporation, right? You can explain it in a sentence.
Yeah.
But what made the show really interesting is it had all these threads. So you had, Elliot and Angela both losing parents because of Evil Corp, and that's why they were so invested in it. You had like the drug dealers, you had Allsafe, you had Darlene, that revelation, and then you had the Mr. Robot stuff, which was pretty much like an afterthought, right? It wasn't completely driving the main plot forward. So, guys, I'll put it to you. Explain what season 2 is in a sentence.
I don't think I could do it. I really couldn't do it.
Definitely can't do it in a sentence.
Yeah.
So far, it's ex-hacker man is sad.
Yeah, I think it's
Writes long
I think
diary.
it's impossible to do it whilst also bearing in mind season 1, because like if you want to explain to like someone who's seen season 1 why they should come back to season 2, it's impossible, because like based on those 3 episodes, it's almost like a different show. It's not even the same show. It feels like the characters are there, but it's no longer the thrust of what the first season was about. Almost none of it is represented in season 2.
I mean, the sum up for season 1 is like you have to mention hacking.
Yeah.
There's not been any hacking in season 2 yet.
I mean, they hacked that smart house.
Yeah.
Made that was quite scary.
And the bank, but it wasn't anything significant. I feel like it's just them being pranksters essentially.
So what I think is like season 2 seems to just be piggybacking off all these different threads, but nothing's really coming together yet. So if you take like F Society, right? They've committed, and they've actually said this in the show. It's the biggest crime of the last century, and they've essentially brought the American economy to a complete standstill. And yet you kind of see it in news reports, but no one directly in the show seems to be suffering from it.
No.
Like Romero's mum, the guy who died in the last episode, his mum was like, oh yeah, I'm going to sell the place because I need the money. Who is going to be buying property if the entire economy is in crisis? It just doesn't, there's no urgency in any of the characters. So it doesn't seem like they've got to the end of basically this end of the world state.
Yeah, it comes in and out as well, like paying for the meal up front, Angela and her bosses. That's kind of like a small nod to it, but I don't think it's anything significant. And I guess that's part of the point. Like, E-Corp it seems like they've not suffered much from the attack. But at the same time, the world around them should reflect it a little more. E-Corp should be, this kind of like stronghold for like, consumerism. Look, this bounces off of us.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to see how it affects the people. And we don't see enough of that. We get a little bit here and there, but I feel like they should be setting up why F Society needs to double down on their efforts, why E-Corp are still evil, and this is why we need to still go after them. It just doesn't seem like it's doing that. It's just like, oh, remember those bad guys from the last season? Yeah, we kicked them a bit. We're going to carry on kicking them. But none of the kind of things like losing parents are there anymore to give you that kind of drive to be like, yeah, I want to see F Society take them down. It's just like, all right, we just want to bring down this bank.
And also your relationship, I mean, in season 1 was with Elliot, because he talked to you so much.
Yeah.
You had that relationship and he was like this driving force pulling you through the story. But now that he's become this unreliable narrator, I don't want to trust anything he says. I don't want to listen to him. I'm not invested in his story as much because I don't believe in it. So that's kind of, it's not pulling me through the story. I'm not very interested.
Yeah, Elliot as a character, he's one of those people who they have in a lot of shows where they wallow in their own sadness. And I usually hate that. But what made him interesting was at the same time as having that, he had this other side to him which was fiercely like objective based, and he had these ambitions and he focused on that, and it was part of those two kind of flavors of the character that bounced off each other and kind of made it interesting. Now it's just he's just that one wallowing sad dude and he's not really getting anything done, which makes him an annoying character now.
Because I feel like they are slowly, like snail's pace, completely introducing these points. I think Ray is there to drag Elliot back in, right? You've got the FBI agent and, these murders happening. So I feel like consequences are coming, but just the way and how slowly they've been introduced, it doesn't feel like F Society have done anything.
Yeah. Like you say before, E-Corp hasn't suffered. The scenes in which they're showing the people are suffering kind of feel forced. And like you said, you expect such more grandiose plot points considering they did the biggest crime.
Well,
in
I mean,
American
they're a quarter of the way through the season now.
Yeah.
Which is
kind of
weird
season
to think,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm hoping, stuff kicks off.
Yeah.
We're being a little bit down on the show, but there are some redeeming qualities. So, Dave, what are you enjoying?
Out of all the characters that have been introduced, I think Ray is I think they're best. I was ready to dislike Ray just because, not dislike him, I just felt his dramatic role was a bit weird because I'm so used to seeing that actor in comedic roles.
Yeah.
But especially since the last episode, and you've seen some of his mental stuff and some of the stuff that he's up against and the manipulation and intrigue of him, I think he could actually be one of the cooler characters, and especially if it drags Elliot out of his slump.
Also, he's got a cool dog.
He's got a really cool dog.
Tam, what about you?
I really like Leon, which is Elliot's new friend. Partly because he's a Seinfeld quoter, and he's like he's trying to figure out Seinfeld, which is brilliant. But also because he's one of my favorite rappers. His name is Joey Badass. He's got a great album. You should check it out. But
I love that in the credits his name actually has dollar
Joey
signs.
Badass and has the dollar signs. Yeah, but I like him as a character. He's kind of like. if it is existing in the prison world, which is the theory, like he's the cool guy that hooks you up, and he seems to be like the kind of character, one of the characters that may kind of Elliot may take along for the ride. A lot of the other characters feel a bit inconsequential to me, or maybe it's just that I want him to be taken along for the ride. He's also kind of helping Elliot get control of Mr. Robot, so I like him. It's mainly the Seinfeld stuff where he's like, dude, Kramer's worst.
I quite like Angela. She's always kind of been a bit on the back foot, never really doing anything. But I like that she's turned into this corporate bitch, but you don't know if she's really invested in it. And it's this weird relationship she's got going on with Philip Price, and you don't know who's got what motivations. And it's very cool. And when they had that dinner scene, just I don't know what I was expecting. Was it meant to be a date? And then you find out it was this, and then Philip like pulls the rug out, and it's like, you can send these guys away. Yeah. And I thought that was quite a cool plot point, because I was worried that they weren't going to do anything with the parent death thing. But
she fits into Elliot's thing about faces as well, and wearing masks and that kind of stuff, because we see her regularly watching these weird videos about reinforcing herself.
Self-help DVDs.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell whether that's what she's trying to do to fit into her new role, and it's fighting against her, her normal nature, or whether it's kind of like how she's embodying this double crosser by telling herself to be this person. So yeah, she's interesting, I feel like.
Yeah. But I mean, we're a quarter of the way through the season, plenty more still to come. So for more Mr. Robot, make sure you stay tuned to Bingewatch here on youtube.com/GameSpot. If you like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. For more, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Lucy James Games.
I'm at Irregular Dave.
And I'm at Tamoor H.
And we'll see you soon.